afternoon. I hope you guys are all well. Thank you very much for making the effort to be here. On behalf of the Denis Goldberg Legacy Foundation Trust, but more recently the Denis Goldberg House of Hope, and from the Goldberg family, so more personally to myself, we're so pleased to be able to welcome you here today. It is Saturday the 9th of April 2022, the anniversary of the day that Denis, my grandfather, married his first wife Esme in 1954, 2 days before what would have been Denis's 89th birthday, and close to the second anniversary of Denis's death in April 2020. For those that don't know me, my name's Jack, I'm Denis's grandson, and I'm honoured to have been asked to lead the ceremonies today. My grandpa was a man of strong moral values, determination, and for those that knew him best, stubbornness. Most of the time. He helped raise, along with my grandma, an incredible son David, who is here today, an incredible mother, an incredible daughter, my mum, who sadly isn't here today, and I know both my grandma and my mum would be so proud of what Denis achieved in his final few years of his life, and as well as the work that David continues to achieve with the Denis Goldberg House of Hope now. I trust you will absorb and enjoy the range of special speakers and performances throughout the course of the ceremony, and I'd like to again extend my special thank you from the family, the Denis Goldberg Legacy Foundation Trust and the Denis Goldberg House of Hope. I'd also like to thank the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation, which has provided financial support for this opening. I'd like to hand it over to the first speaker of the day, which is Chairman of the Denis Goldberg Legacy Foundation Trust, Andre Oosthuizen.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to join us on this occasion, which is to officially, after two unofficial launches, to officially launch this beautiful facility, and also to celebrate the life and the dreams of Denis Goldberg. I only got to know Denis in the last 6 years of his life. Most of you knew him from very much further than that, but one of the things I learned about him was this, that Denis realized the power and the importance of giving your life to a cause greater than yourself. And the 6 years that I spent serving on the trust, that was what drove him in the dreams about this House of Hope that we are opening today. And I think that's also what drove him in his earlier years through the years of imprisonment, exile from the country of his birth, and the like. And today we see that dream, and one of the things that we are very happy and proud about is this, that Denis was very troubled about the youth, and the fact that still today, in the year 2022, the youth of this country are often trapped in a prison of poverty, of helplessness, of nowhere to go to. And that was something that Denis decided to fight with the same energy that he fought so many other causes in life. And the good news is that that cause and that dream is already happening in this building. We have had art, we've had music, we've had choirs, we've had IT classes, we've had hip-hop classes. I won't be enrolling in those, and nor will David. And we've had various other activities. And that is what this House of Hopes in our lives as trustees stands for, is a opportunity where our young people can become involved in projects and things that will empower them and will empower their lives. And so thank you for joining us, because we believe this, that dream and that ideal, that this place will stand for the empowerment of the young people of this community, and this country is one that we not only celebrate today, but I think we'll continue to celebrate and practice for many years to come, and we will do that in honor of a legendary South African, Denis Goldberg. Thank you very much for being here.
If I could invite Jonty Dreyer, who is the manager of the Hout Bay Museum, pastor and representative of the landlord of this property, The Denis Goldberg House of Hope is situated on the site of the museum, and we are lucky to have a 99-year lease with the Museum Trust. So we include huge thanks for the collegial way in which we work together. Is John T here? Fantastic. John T. Dreyer.
Good afternoon, everyone. And for those of you who are in Hout Bay for the first time, welcome to the Republic of Hout Bay. So it all started for me when Timothy invited me when Denis came to live in Hout Bay a couple of years ago. He invited me to Denis's house. There was a housewarming party and a welcoming party for Denis. I took a Republic of Hout Bay passport and handed it over to Denis. I don't know what happened to it, to welcome him also to the Republic of Hout Bay. At that time, there was a few ministers there, but you know, like Denis and me, we're unfazed with, you know, the titles that you carry because we connect with people. And so it was then that Denis said that, you know, he wanted to speak to me because I'm at the Hout Bay Museum and he needed to speak to me. So in the week after, you know, there was a call from Denis at 4:30. So we close at 4:30. So there was a call from Denis at 4:30 the afternoon. And he said, "Are you still at work? Stay at work. I'm coming to see you." Anybody know Denis like that? So I had to stay. I couldn't, there was nobody to take a photo, but on the camera, I took the photo for myself and him coming down the stairs. And so he shared the dream with me. And he got offered another piece of land. And then he said, no, thank you. He wants to work with John T. And he wanted to work with the Hout Bay Museum. Denis told me that he felt connected to me and we should get the ball rolling to make this dream come true that he had in his heart. He chose to receive his honorary doctorate, I think is one of the Scottish universities, and he chose to receive it at the museum. There was many other venues that he could, but he chose, he said, I want to be with John T. in the museum and I want to receive it in the museum. Helen Ziller was the premier at the time. She was forced to come to the museum and make a speech in the museum for Denis, not in the hall, in the museum itself, and so on, because, you know, that's what he wanted. And of course he met Iona, who was the chairperson at the time. And so it all began, this dream, Denis sharing his heart and his dream. One official at the department said that this project will never happen. And Denis and I said, we will not allow this negativity to influence us. We will use this as a stepping stone. And people like Charlene Houston, she's here, she just arrived, and the director, Michael Janssen van Rensburg, the HOD, Minister Andrew Murray, and others, they made it happen with the Board of Trustees of the Hout Bay Museum. Visit and phone calls was frequent between Denis and I. And then we had a speech competition. And then there was a little girl that took part in the speech competition. And she organized a concert, Kids for Kids. And they gave the takings to the Denis Goldberg House of Hope. And then they had this beautiful song that they sing on that evening. Denis couldn't make it that evening. Unfortunately, he was not well. He could not make it that evening. But they had this beautiful song that they sang. It was called One Day. So the children, everybody that was there, they sang this beautiful song, One Day. And then because Denis wasn't there, Debbie asked me if I would conclude with some remarks. And I said yes. And I said this, I love this song, One Day, because this is in Denis's heart, that one day the House of Hope will come alive and will touch and impact the lives of many, many children. On the 13th, of course, of February 2020, there was a concert that was organized for the House of Hope and for Denis, the Denis Goldberg Legacy Foundation. Denis wasn't well,
but he phoned me to tell me he's not well, and he don't have a copy of the, I think I saw Andre with a copy of the cooperation agreement, framed one, is here. So I gave him one, but he don't know where he put the one, and he said, please, John T, will you organize one for me? So I phoned Michael, he was the deputy director at the time, and I took it up. On the day that they had the concert, I took it up to him. He wasn't well, he was in bed, and the nurse said he don't want to see anybody, and she went to tell him, and he said, no, if it's John T, let him come in. So I shared some beautiful and wonderful moments then with Dennis. I mean, I didn't know that that was the very last, very intimate moments that we shared. So Dennis, shared that in prison they had, he ate tomatoes because the tomatoes grew there. So he always bought this tomatoes that was on the, and I love tomatoes. So he called the nurse and said, bring the tomatoes for John T and I, and we shared a meal of tomatoes, and what a lovely meal it was. When they built the House of Hope within the pathway, I then asked the builders if they could please place in the pathway a copy of the cooperation agreement that was signed on the 2nd of October. I asked them if they could put it there, and a Mandela 5 Rand coin. So many years after this, if they dig it up, they'll find a copy of the cooperation agreement and so on. And so it was also Dennis's time on that 13th to thank me and to ask me to play a part in making all of this happen. With tears in his eyes and in my eyes, I promised him that I will do that. And so this is that one day that the children were singing about, and it's impacting many, many lives. Long live the spirit of Denis Goldberg. Long live.
Thank you, John T, for those amazing words. Our next speaker is Guy Redman, Head of the Provincial Department of Cultural Affairs and Sports, which is a third partner in the Memorandum of Understanding between the Trust, the Museum Trust, and the provincial government. Guy has been a strong supporter of the initiative from early on and can be seen as one of 3 key people in ensuring that my grandfather's artwork, his kind of life's exhibition, is what we see here today. So if I can invite Guy Redman to the microphone.
Thank you very much. My introduction to this project was a breakfast meeting with Andre very early in the morning. I think it was probably 6:30, 7 o'clock in 2017. I had just joined the Western Cape government, and of course the rest, as I say, is history. But words cannot capture how significant this day is. At a recent COP26 meeting in November 2021, Sir David Attenborough addressed the leaders of nations from across the world. He said, "Nature is a key ally. Whenever we restore the wild, it will recapture carbon and help us bring balance to our planet. And as we work to build a better world, we must acknowledge that no nation has completed its development because no advanced nation is yet sustainable. We all have a journey still to complete so that all nations have a good standard of living and a modest footprint. We're going to have to learn together how to achieve this, ensuring that none are left behind." We're getting to the point that I want you to hear. We must use this opportunity to create a more equal world, and our motivation should not be fear, but hope. Our motivation should not be fear, but hope. And this is Denis's legacy. Istwala Andre, Denis Goldberg, has left a rich legacy. This facility is not the legacy, but a means towards the legacy. His just cause and the actual legacy that he has left us and bequeathed to us is the legacy of hope. Hope, not just for Hout Bay, imizamo yethu and Hamburg, but for our country, as well as humanity. It is this brand of resilience that South Africa and the world needs now more than ever before. He also understood that hope needs fuel, and that fuel is imagination. And that's where the center comes in. Those who are exposed to the center and inspired by it, and the programs that are in the center, will be able to imagine alternate futures for themselves and believe in their ability to achieve that imagined future. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is hope. We thank all of those, like Istwalandwe, Denis Goldberg, gave selflessly to ensure that this legacy of hope lives on. Those who appreciated that his was a long game. You don't do 20 years in prison without hope. It was an infinite game. Today, we are not sad that he's not here physically with us, because we understand that he, as a leader, was a leader with an infinite mindset. And he arrived here, this moment that we are experiencing today, long before the foundations for this facility were put in place. Long may his legacy of hope live on through all our collective actions, in all our various spheres of influence, and in our little corners of the world. Thank you very much.
We're going to break slightly from the speeches. We're going to invite the xylophone group to perform now. So we're very much looking forward to that with Lavinia, Pedro, and Zanelli. Dennis's cousin-in-law and architect of this amazing building we have today. So if I could invite Joe to the stand.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to talk for long. I'm just going to tell you about the building and about how we try to realize Denis's dreams in the building. But before I do that, I want to thank the people who built the building. And that's quite a large number of people, but the main contractor was a company called Abracht Construction, run by Amin Abracht. The engineers were DVH engineers, and the quantity surveyors were LDM. The chief, the head, the senior architect in the practice who is here, Ashley Reuters, who is an old friend of mine. I've worked with him for many years, and his brothers were very involved in political activism in the 80s and 90s and knew Denis well. Denis knew them. And Ashley, out of the generosity of his respect for Denis, offered to do the work on a pro bono basis. So thank you very much. We had lots of other people involved. I just want to mention Brendan Bell-Roberts from Art Africa, who helped us set up the exhibition material, who did the mural in the front, and also helped with the curating of the artwork. What I want to do is just talk to you about Denis and his ideas for the building, because he died before we started. And we started at the beginning of COVID, and it was a very difficult period. But there were three ideas that Denis spoke to me consistently about. And that was, the first idea was that this should be an open building. It should be a building that people come to and they feel that it's open and welcoming. And to achieve that, what we did is to create this long extended canopy, which is a covered canopy. Andre, the chairman, once said to me that in Pretoria, where he comes from, people refer to canopy as a bit of food, but that's an Afrikaans joke. But what we did is created this open access way, and then stuck all the buildings that make up the center underneath the canopy, which means that you go outside to go inside all the time, which is a wonderful idea in our climate. I don't know why we borrow these crazy ideas from the Western world that once you're in a house or a building, you've got to go everywhere inside. The second issue was that Denis felt that when people come to the building, he wants them to experience the building in its totality. And the central space in this building on my right is the teaching space. And Denis wanted that always to be filled with projects. And he wanted around it to be the other components of the building, which is the exhibition and the art exhibition, so that they are integrated one with the other. So when people come to have a look at the exhibition of art, they're there as the kids are taking part in art and culture and taking part in educational programs, which I think is fantastic. And what we've done is we've created a mezzanine level above where we've got a library and an archive so you can look down into the space. The third big issue was one that I think was closest to Denis's heart, which was that Denis, those of you who know him, was both a rationalist and an engineer. And you combine the two and you have a formidable force. And what we had a problem with discussing this matter was this distinction that Denis always wanted to draw between that which is necessary and that which is luxurious. And he argued consistently that that which is necessary can never be luxurious, and that which is luxurious can never be necessary. And I hope we've proved him wrong. Because we've taken that and we've said you can't have something that's luxurious without it being necessary, but you can make necessity luxurious. And to give you an example, what we've done here on all the entrances to the buildings, we've put concrete canopies, but then with the help of an amazing Zimbabwean man, we polished all the concrete and we sealed it. And now it doesn't look like concrete, it looks like stone. And I wish Denis was here for me just to refute him, to prove to him that I'm right and he's wrong. But all of those, you know Denis, he's never wrong. Okay. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the building.
Thank you, Joe. Our next speaker is Zine Gwija, a music teacher and founding member of the Igoma choir, which Denis loved and which often performed at his events. She's a solo performer in her own right. Zine?
Alpha no Omega. short, so this. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Zine Kwija, and I'm originally from the Eastern Cape in a small town called Iwillovale, but I grew up here in Hout Bay in Imizamo Yetu. And as we all know that diversity, that's what Mr. Denis Goldberg believed in. And art brings diversity, and it allows us to tell our stories and share our stories. And if we allow children to just open up and be able to express themselves and be vulnerable, and also to share the stories that are kept inside through music, through drama, through acting, through design, through painting, we can see those stories and be able to, relate to those stories with the children. I'm not really a good speaker, but this is what I wanted to say. Mr. Denis Goldberg believed in art a lot. As I know that he had a very big collection of art in his home. This tells that he loved storytelling as well. He loved people to be together and share and unite. Before I stop speaking, because I said I'm not a good speaker, I just want to share a big art quote that I love. It says, "Art is not what you see, but art is what you want people to see, or what you make other people see." So art is life. Let us rejoice this event, because this is a beautiful event, and Mr. Goldberg made it possible because he made us be aware that art is beautiful. And let us continue sharing the good love and the good music and the good drama and the good everything that has to do with art. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dine. Our next speaker is Neo, tenant of Denis's house up in Hout Bay, which is, again, designed and built by Joe. It's very similar to this building. It's amazing. During his last years, Neo lived in the flat apartment below. She and her partner, Uli, will continue to live there in the main part of the house as new owners. She's also the mother of several children who participate in House of Hope activities. So I'd love to welcome Neo to the microphone.
Good afternoon to everyone who is here now to open this wonderful dream of Denis Goldberg. I am Neo Mwatludi. I was born in Langa, Cape Town. But I feel honored that I'm here to say a few words about Denis Goldberg. Before I can start, I would like to thank Denis for his contribution to fight for the struggle of our nation. Fighting for us meant he left his privilege of being a white person. That is why now I am standing here in Hout Bay. So that is why now I'm standing here in Hout Bay and talking to you. In my culture, people like Denis, they don't die. They just passed on. Because they always live on. And look at this Denis Goldberg House of Hope now. I met Denis through Uli and Christina. They met in Germany. It was a book reading. Then they exchanged their contact details. In 2008, he invited us. It was me, Uli, and Christina to his house in Hout Bay. He cooked for us, and we were so impressed to see this old man cooking like this. We kept on visiting him, me, Christina, and Uli. When they are here in South Africa, they are from Germany. When they are here in South Africa, that was often. We developed a great friendship and love. We developed a great friendship, and he's loved. His humanity, friendliness, caring, beaming love and peace. And we loved his cooking. In 2014, Uli visited Denis in hospital while he was having a replacement of a hip. Then he asked Uli if he wants to rent the flat. We were also excited, three of us, and we moved in the house at the end of 2014. All the years we were with him, and it was great, and we learned a lot. He was a happy soul. He never complained too much about anything except politics. He loved our 4 children, and they loved him too. They were calling him Tatomkhulu, that means grandfather. I was doing his shopping sometimes when he could not go down alone anymore. That he did with his car till at the end, with his breathing machine next to his passenger seat. He was a good cooker, and he invited me often for a dinner because he loved people around him. A point which was very nice for me is that he admires ladies. In his presence, I felt special and very much honored. Lots of time, he used to point out to the painting. You will see the painting inside. That painting, he will pointed at that painting that looks as you. You look like that. It's a black, beautiful lady there with the back. You will see the inside. With Denis, I really lost a friend, a father. He was so very much independent, not only in his thinking, but also in his daily life. He was reluctant to take help, even it was needed. Wherever he is, now I'm sure he is resting in eternal peace. Thank you.
We're going to have our second performance of the day now, with a hip-hop performance by children from the house, taught by Emily, our jazz art Saturday morning teacher.
Chap in a bando, I don't wanna look like you. My young nigga with a Rambo, you be getting choked right through. Gotta have scrams on a block car, you know what a hood might do. On my 150 niggas trap car, we don't wanna look like you. Chap in a bando, I don't wanna look like you. Chap in the bando, I don't wanna look like you. Chap in the bando, I don't wanna look like you. Chap, look like you. No, I don't wanna look like you. Look like you. Chap in the bando, I don't wanna look like you. Chap in the bando, I don't wanna look like you. In the bando, look like you. Chap in the band, chap in the band, chap in the band, chap 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 in the band, chap in the band, chap in the band, chap 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 I don't wanna look like you. Chap in the bando, I don't wanna look like you.
I just want to say well done to all the kids, and one by one, if you can take a bow. Scarlett! Thando, Nicole, Imange, Salem, and Amila. And well done to our teacher, Emil. And our xylophone participants as well, our xylophone performers, Konke. Kadimla, where are you? Batabile, Shiva, Ayanga, Amadle. Well done, everyone.
Okay, our final speaker, most certainly last but definitely not least, is my uncle, Dennis's son, David. So if you'd like to come up.
Since my dad died, I've met a lot of people who, I met a lot of people who know him as a comrade, as a freedom fighter, all those other bits that go with what he did. But for me, he was my dad. And I'm sorry if I cried when I say that. He was put in prison when I was very small. And I just met a guy who said he read me a story 60 years ago that I haven't seen for 60 years. So my dad wasn't there for that, but he was. So thank you for that one, although I don't remember it. Since he died, we've been going through a lot of his letters and stuff, and we found a whole batch of letters between him and my mum, who also had to suffer. And people forget that part. And one of the letters, he wants to explain to me and my sister why he couldn't be there to tell us and say goodbye. Because he had to dash off and get away. And he didn't want us to have, he didn't want us to have any resentment towards that. And one of those letters asked my mum, he was trying to parent from afar. Very difficult, it put a lot of strain. But you could feel the love. I've been reading these letters and it makes me cry all the time, as I do now. And one of the go forward 20 odd years, when he was released and I went to meet him, one of the letters says, actually it's in his autobiography, that I asked him why did he choose the path he took over the two of us. And he said, basically, because there were two of you and millions of others. I'm not quite sure how anyone thinks that way, but he did. And this is part of the memory of him. And in the latter years, he was very good, and he always wanted to be with children. And part of the reason he didn't come back actually straight away was because he had given up his children once and his family, and he didn't want to do that again. That overrode coming back in '94 or whenever it was. He came back in 2002, I think, when my mum and then unfortunately my sister died, to be in his land. He moved to Hout Bay, and he had, in the latter years, after he got ill, we became very close. Not the easiest of transitions, but we did become very close. We'd missed out all our youth. I forgot everything that he, when I was young. I mean, he disappeared when I was about 4 or 5 or whatever it was. As I say, we became close, and he used to talk constantly about how he wanted to integrate kids from all sides. Didn't want them. We don't want to have this segregation. I went to a thing with Andre, who's running another project, trying to get kids from different backgrounds to work together, to get to sit together. And all he spoke about in the latter years was this. There's another guy, Oliver, there that was a very good friend to him, who runs an art project. He wanted all of these people to come together so that kids can be inspired and to mix, because after all, that's what he wanted all the time. And now that we're here, with this great building, Joe, great building. You know, now that we're here with this, and this can be a focal point, we don't want it to be for 5 minutes, for 1 year, 2 years. This needs to be long lasting. And so he can see this dream, whilst not a religious person. Somehow he's going to be watching or listening, and hopefully we can achieve that. And I want to thank everyone for being here. There's a lot of old friends. All I can say is enjoy, and everyone be well.
Just echoing David, my uncle's points, thank you again for obviously everyone being here. I think from hearing about the stories that perhaps I didn't necessarily know about, kind of obviously being very young, obviously Grandpa was released before I was even born, but to understand his values, his legacy, what he wants to instill here is incredible. And I think I'm actually going to read you something here that I wrote a number of years ago, so indulge me please. I wrote it for the kids that I teach at school to tell them about my story, because it's something that, as David and I, myself, my two cousins, Katie and Jane, so David's two daughters growing up, we're very proud of being of kind of South African heritage and having someone as incredible as our grandfather to look up to. So this is something that I wrote for my kids at school. It's something that I then recorded for Debbie, who used as part of the memorial service 2 years ago. It's called House of Hope. Speak clearly of the peace, future and hope, yet remember and recall the journey. With the table towering over all below, arts and culture, Hout Bay is yearning. A house both warm and welcoming in nature, providing a haven for the free and in need. Let us make a start for all South Africans, a house of hope and humanity, agreed. Let freedom reign and shout out to all. The winter of life has cooled. As Denis continued his unending ambitions, the spirit of Hout Bay shall not fall. The symbol of strength the sentinel is, protecting all that call the bay their home. Chapman's Peak winds its magic around to the south, connecting all how South Africa has grown. The Cape of Good Hope has history in abundance. The sun never hath set on her beauty. A glorious human achievement, freedom is, house of hope out of the ashes of cruelty. Stunning South Africa is clearly imperfect. Mandela still whispers his cause. A few individuals forever longing to see it, a true rainbow nation for all. I am not done yet, Denis explained. Overcoming apartheid is ongoing. Forever the rock, the beacon, a legend, Invictus, house of hope, the progress not slowing. I am the master of my fate, one individual once said, arts and culture can provide a home. I am the captain of my soul, he proclaimed to the world, the house of hope, Denis's capstone. Thank you very much for being here today. We would like to invite you to stay, mingle, talk amongst yourselves, explore the amazing house and the exhibitions, and we look forward to obviously seeing you back at the House of Hope over many years of its successful story to come. Thank you so much.
Right. And it's an item where you're going to be given something, a present from Denis and from the House of Hope, a present to take home. Are you starting to distribute? It's an instrument. It's a musical instrument, and it's the number 5 instrument, I think I say, that gets made out of a piece of seaweed. This one. You know, I'm a teacher trainer. I train teachers to make instruments and to use and to get to the music really quickly. This one is amazing. And basically, is it being distributed? You may distribute to the things. Okay, so basically it's just a little bit of pipe and with a little hole on the side. And in the olden days, they would have used probably the spider web, a ground spider web that makes a very kind of special, very tight little web. And these days you can go to Fruit and Veg and buy yourself some nice fruit. No, they don't sponsor me, they should. And then with that, you put it here. I'm doing this, I usually tell this with a story, and I share Denis's fascination with stories and the power of stories, but I'm not going to tell you that story today, because we don't have the time. So basically you cover the end there, Have they been distributed? My story is not very long. And then in the olden days, they would have used beeswax and things like that, you know, to glue that bit of spider web to the pipe, like this on one side. And on the other side, maybe I should have told the story, it's going to take a long time to get the pipes to do. So you glue it on each side. And my story is about a little boy who is vocally wounded. You know what that means. He thinks he cannot sing. Some grown-up has told him, shush, you're going to make it rain. And then he grew up thinking he wasn't good at singing. And one day he was crying under a tree, and a bee came bzzz, and landed on his pipe and started to buzz. It went bzzz over the whole day. So he said, I can do that. So he put a bit of plastic, and then he put the thing between his teeth, and then he blew. Or he took a deep breath first. And it didn't work. So then he thought, maybe I should blow the other side. Let me try that. Or maybe you should block her ears, it might be very loud. You don't want to block her ears? Don't sue me afterwards, okay? Maybe I should block the end with my finger and then blow. It doesn't work. Maybe I should blow on the side. Anyway, eventually he remembered that the bee wasn't just sitting there, it was buzzing. So he buzzed inside his pipe. He went bzzz. So that's what you have to do when you get one of those things. Don't blow, sing into it. And we're going to sing a very special song that Denis, I am pretty sure, loved and that we all love. No, okay, watch me. No one has played that pipe before, so it's free of germs. So you take the end, you put it between your teeth, you close your lips around it. And then you sing, you don't blow. You go do-do-do-do-do-do. Aha, yeah. Okay, while we wait for everybody to have one, there's some things you can do with this. Each one of you is a Formula One racing car. Close your eyes, everybody. Close your eyes, and on the count of three, we start racing. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now that's called fortissimo in terms of dynamics. Now the next picture we're going to make is each one of us is a bee in the beehive. Close your eyes. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wow. Okay, I think everybody has it. All right, everybody. Okay. Inside. Hello. Okay, on your head, everybody. Unicorn. Like that, you don't blow it. Okay, we're gonna sing a special song to say goodbye, and to say goodbye, and to say hello to this beautiful museum. Okay? And it's a very special song. It's in called Sikelele. So if you close your eyes, everybody, and let's just get the key. Do, 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 do. Do. Ready? Let's start. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Pedro, for the incredible rendition of Nkosi Sikeleli. I just wanted to, before we go, Lavinia's asked me to thank all of the parents of the kids who make use of the Denis Goldberg House of Hope space for investing their trust in us, investing their trust in everyone who works here. It's such an incredible kind of initiative and program, and again, we wanted to thank you for that. So if we could give a round of applause to all the parents whose kids come here, they wouldn't be what we are without them. And again, from me, from the Goldberg family, the House of Hope, and the Legacy Foundation Trust, thank you so much for being here and sharing this special occasion with us. Have a safe trip home and enjoy the rest of your day.
As a completely irreligious family, we're just going to, my mum and my sister are scattered by a tree in London, and this fits that we can do it here. So there's 2 trees that can be remembered now, and I hope the ashes go well with the tree. Make it grow. It's quite windy, I don't even know how to open it. How do we open it? Trigger fingers don't help. Oh, no screwdriver.
We've got a screwdriver. Brass screwdriver.
Ah, there we go, look. Here comes there's a man who was escaping something. Yeah.
Hey, what, David?
Doing well? Here we go. Yeah, stop. We might also go and do a few in. We might go and do a few in the sea, if we can get there. Okay. Last one. Okay. We need something. No. As you said, Albie, he's been locked up again, right? Here we go.
It's rather symbolic to have his grandson help him escape.
That's right, indeed. If only. That's Harry. How do we open this now?
Use the Swiss Army.
Need it again. Where's the Swiss Army?
It's an honor to be able to do this for Denis.
Wow.
I've been doing it since 1954.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you very much. You'll need to cut that.
With a big guy, it would appear.
No.
Okay.
Hello, Denis.
Okay, that's all good. We'll keep some and put it in the sea. Thank you for being here. And long may this last, that's all.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I'll put it on the tree. Okay. Enjoy. Have a good day.
David.